Hi, good afternoon. We're here with Gareth Allen from Herd. How you doing, Gareth?
Very good, Mike. Nice to meet you.
And you? Looking forward to the interview this afternoon. So if you could start us off by telling us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing it for, please.
Yeah, of course. My name's Gareth. Um, Originally started out as a computer science graduate way back in 2000s as a web developer, initially front-end web developer. Graduated from Hull University, moved on to a small agency in East Yorkshire in Hull, and began my life, I guess, in a career in web development, front-end web development. And then gradually over time, ended up spending more and more of my time in marketing. In kind of mid 2000s, we were at a point where lots of people were asking, I've got a website now, how do I get to the top of search engine results? And I guess primarily organic search at the time was becoming a big thing. How do I get to the top of search engine results? How do I get to position one? Had my website delivered. Kind of found myself doing more and more of that and less of the web development, and ended up moving into more SEO, specifically around performance marketing. Gradually over time, then that became my focus. So mid 2000s, moved heavily into marketing, and then moved on from that particular agency to head up an SEO department in a large agency in the northeast of England. And then from there, still always keeping the roots in development, if you like, kept in touch with some of my ex-colleagues, always with a view of sort of thinking, should we be doing this for ourselves? And I guess long story short, lots of long evenings, weekends, built up a bank of clients, initially sort of freelancing, with a view of setting up our own agency. And that's where Herd first came about. Sort of 10 years ago now, coming up to 10 years, 10th year in business, our anniversary actually this year, just coming up. And set up with my co-founder, Tim, a software engineer who I'd met ex-agency side. And between the two of us, we almost made a decent pair, if you like.
Good partnership.
Good partnership early days in Herd. Got the business going, and since then we've grown and grown over the last 10 years, specialising in performance marketing and in web development, if you like, in particular a platform called Shopify, software as a service platform, that enables us to facilitate growth for anybody looking at e-commerce. So in a nutshell, that's not quite a 30-second background, but that's where it all started, and that's how long we've been doing it for.
Thank you. Good bit of history there. And obviously transitioning from the doer into a business owner as well as the doer, if that kind of makes sense. So
yeah, wearing lots of different hats along the way, for sure.
Yeah, we'll get sort of into that in a little bit in terms of your experience and lessons shared. So just to ask you about Herd and kind of what makes you different, what makes you stand out from the rest, what would you say that is for you guys?
Yeah, really good question. And I guess when you're looking at agencies who do Shopify or agencies who do performance marketing, there are lots out there, and people will say, well, what's the difference? Why work with Herd? We get that a lot. I think the one bit that does set us apart, there are very few out there who are Shopify Plus agencies who also deliver a rock solid job when it comes to performance marketing too. So there are plenty of people out there who will try and deliver a website and then almost sort of send you on your way and say, thanks very much, you're on your own. And there are plenty who will be out there who will also be saying, we'll come and work with you from performance marketing point of view, but not necessarily do the development, the software engineering, the integrations up front. We do both, and we do it really well from in particular, again, from a Shopify point of view. So I guess that is almost something that makes us slightly different to other agencies out there. Certainly not many of them around. In fact, I think across the UK there are only 45 Shopify Plus agencies, which does almost put us in a group of agencies that have made the cut and almost demonstrated that they can work at that level. So not many actually worldwide, and even fewer obviously in the UK.
Fantastic, thank you. So over the last 10 years then, what has your business journey looked like in terms of the ups and downs, or the plain sailing as it may have been? How's it been for you?
Yeah, wow. Yeah. I guess there's been some ups and downs for sure. And anybody who's been on that journey would know. And some people would say, well, a roller coaster some days, from one year to the next, whether we've been going through things like the pandemic and how do you have to pivot, how do you have to change, and get through those times. I think a big thing that we've definitely noticed that's been almost on our side, if you like, is the whole retail, the whole barrier to entry for entrepreneurs has definitely reduced. And we've been seeing that more and more recently. It used to be perhaps 10 years ago, even less, that there was this barrier and you could only really see larger brands, larger, standard, if you like, high street retailers who were doing really well from an e-commerce point of view as well. They've got the big budgets to do that. More so recently, and again, with the advent of platforms like Shopify, that barrier has been removed. And we're seeing more and more people now who are sort of almost breaking that down and getting into it. And one of the things that is great for us is working with those entrepreneurs and helping them accelerate, helping them on their growth journey. And that's been something that we've been quite aware of, even more so in the last couple of years, rather than thinking back 10 years ago, why did we start out? And that was one of the big things, one of the main driving forces for setting up on our own, to be able to help businesses who do want to progress, who do want to excel, but have not necessarily got those large agency sort of budgets to be throwing hundreds of thousands of pounds around into e-commerce platforms, into marketing. There's still plenty of people out there who want a good job and they want to get cracking, and that's certainly something that we've been aware of over recent years, and it feels as though that's going to be an ongoing theme, if you like, even going forward into 2023 and beyond. Will it become more easier with the advent of technology for people to break down those barriers?
Yeah. So you've highlighted something there in terms of what the future looks like and where you see things going. What do you see the main challenges are with that potentially for yourselves?
Yeah, I guess for us, in terms of staying up to date with the latest innovation, latest technology, and bringing something to the table, that's always going to be a challenge. And some people would sort of think, well, again, back to that question, what makes you different? Why couldn't I go and get that service elsewhere? A really good question. And that's something that is huge for Herd, and making sure that we're investing in not just the latest technology and the latest trends, but also in the team, making sure we've got the team to support and to help businesses grow. So that certainly is going to be a challenge going into the remainder of 2023 and beyond, and making sure that we hire well, bring the right people into the business, train those people, invest in those people, so that when we are giving advice to partners that we're bringing on board, to clients that we're working with, we're giving the best advice we possibly can to help them grow and to help them on their journey. But definitely that in itself, if you like, finding people of the right caliber with the right expertise is definitely a challenge, and certainly will be. I think as we're growing, we're seeing that now, and we'll continue to see that. So recruitment, I think, definitely a big challenge. One of the things, I guess, that's thrown everybody into that as well, COVID, global pandemic, everybody's suddenly thrown into that remote working. That brings with it its own challenges for sure. And we are still a small business, a local agency. And we see that now, especially getting to a point where we have achieved Shopify Plus status. There are agencies out there that will sort of say, well, you know what, we're quite happy for everybody to work fully remote. And then you're up against a whole different challenge of recruiting, not just locally, but against everybody else who's quite happy to recruit nationally and let people work remotely. And we've taken a stance of, do you know what, we're going to stick with the hybrid model. We think it's really quite important in terms of culture, getting people into the office for different reasons, to try and keep that going, rather than just saying, no, we're 100% remote. But with that in itself comes a whole new challenge as well. And back to that point around, you're up against everybody else who is sort of saying, no, 100% remote, we're going to let you work anywhere in the country with no need to see you, etc. So yeah, that definitely going to be a challenge too in terms of 2023 and beyond.
Something that I think will resonate with plenty of business owners there. So thank you for sharing that. In terms of moving on to yourself then as a business owner, and if there's one lesson that you could pick out, the biggest learning that you've had to date, what would that be if you can put it into one?
Yeah, good question. And I'm a big advocate of, well, two things, I guess. One, I'd always like to think that if I'm asking somebody else to do something, I have a really good idea how to do it myself or have done it in the past. So I think that's massively important, having that experience. And I guess two, and a follow on from that, is also better to try and fail than not try at all. I think that's hugely important. You can have all the theory in the world, you can read all the books in the world, but actually getting that practical experience, getting stuck in, doing it, and you're not going to get it right every single time, but actually doing it, having a go, you'll learn more from doing that and not necessarily succeeding every time than doing nothing or sitting back and thinking, well, I shouldn't do that, or there's a barrier, or having an excuse, if you like. So definitely get out there, have a go, get stuck in. That'd be my one big takeaway, if you like.
Good stuff. Thank you. With that, in terms of, say, offering a piece of advice to someone just starting out in business, a younger person, would that go over to that piece of advice, do you think, as well?
Yeah, definitely. And I think a follow on from that, anybody just starting out in business, looking to set up on their own or start a new agency, I think an added piece that I would suggest to make sure you've got the right network of people around you, whether that's friends, family, other colleagues, business partners, peers. Almost build that network of like-minded people who you can lean on when things go wrong and you just need a bit of a sounding board, a bit of advice. Definitely have that. Couldn't advocate more in favour of that type of thing, and having that network that you can lean on. Again, back to that point around, you're never going to get everything right first time, every time, and then having that sounding board of people who've been there, done that, I think that's massively important too.
Right. So, in terms of inspiration, then, what inspires you to do what you do? You mentioned about helping smaller businesses, entrepreneurs coming through with their web capabilities and that kind of thing. But yeah, anything else you'd like to share on an inspiration level? So it could be friends, family, anything you listen to, anything you read, anything like that.
Yeah, definitely. A couple of bits at the minute. I think the Stephen Bartlett series is fantastic at the minute, and looking at what he's managed to achieve in such a short space of time, seeing that sort of thing, listening to the podcast there, some cracking stuff that you can take away from that. I think thinking back to what drives me is almost the success of other people as well, and helping them on that journey, back to helping people on their growth journey, whether it's through e-commerce, through performance marketing, and that kind of stuff's always made me tick, and almost being able to tinker and see the results, which I've always had that in me, and seeing that and helping other people get to where they're going, I think is a big driving force for me. The other bit as well that's almost back to this, having a network of people around you. A big part of it for me, massive inspiration for myself, is Caroline, my wife. Literally always there, sounding board if things aren't quite going right. Day after work, you can come home, you can sort of talk through things, etc., and have somebody that's a constant. And she's literally just set up on her own as well with a financial planning business. So again, having somebody else that's in business themselves, different problems that you potentially bringing home on an evening, but talking through something that might have happened in the office versus something that's happened in her business, and again having that partnership almost there, huge inspiration for me. I know that she'd say the same. On the flip side, but I can't guarantee that. But yeah, 100%. I think that does inspire me and pushes me on to get up every day and progress with the business.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Yeah, good inspiration shared there. Definitely important to have that support as well. Thank you. So lastly, is there any latest news around Herd that you'd like to share? Perhaps even just directing us towards your website, anything like that in terms of what you're up to, or yeah, just helping us find where we can go to get hold of you if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. So currently a little bit of a recruitment drive on at the minute, just due to business growth and looking for developers, looking for software engineers, looking for marketers. So definitely worth checking out our recruitment section on the website on herd.io. We mentioned earlier that we're celebrating 10 years in business this year. So we'll be having a little bit of a party from the middle of this year to actually officially celebrate that. Bit of a milestone for us. So definitely glad that we've got there. And I guess the other bit in partnership with that, and again back to the whole Shopify Plus partner status, we achieved that again in our 10th year, or what's coming up to be formally celebrating 10th year. So certainly anybody that's looking to, whether it's taking the first footsteps with e-commerce, or perhaps they're considering platform migrations, or where else might they need some help, definitely give us a shout. Look us up .io. More than happy to chat around that. Anybody that needs any help on that front.
Excellent. Gareth, it's been really good chatting to you. Thank you very much for your time and sharing all that you have.
No problem. Thanks ever so much, Mike.